Hi everyone, welcome to Facade Visual. This is a comprehensive tutorial on creating commercial project in ArchiCAD from start to finish. In this tutorial, I'll take you step-by-step journey exploring the powerful capabilities of ArchiCAD and showcasing how it can revolutionize not only your commercial project workflow, but the entire office or professional setup. So whether you are an experienced ArchiCAD user or new to the software, join me to embark on this exciting journey of creating your first commercial project from sketches to the final construction drawings. Let's dive in and unlock the full potential of ArchiCAD for your next commercial project. I would like to thank returning subscribers and viewers, and if you are new, kindly subscribe and activate notification bell. Make sure to check all the resources used for this video in the link provided on the description. Also check out our ArchiCAD BIM resources for templates, presets, objects, ebooks, and courses. The link is also in the description. There we go. We are starting from the clean slate. We are starting from using ArchiCAD default template. So by default, you have this kind of information from the onset. So what I need to do is to run through some basic settings like any other new project that I will embark on. So I'll select all the elevation markers. If you watched my previous video, you know I'll start by making this to be more like traditional. So I'll come here under marker symbol and text. Let's change the style to circle 3. Let's go up under marker section as well. Set this to the size to 15 millimeters, and then I can change the pen to color 2, which is 0.15 millimeters thick. So once you're done with this, I'd like to also come back here under marker section and text. Let's open the next page by clicking on this arrow and then activate the show reference ID and then hit OK. So by default, this won't show anything in terms of the ID to reference in our marker. So what you need to do here is to go in the project browser or project navigator and assign our elevations ID. So if I select this one, which is the south elevation, if you go down here under properties, there is no the viewpoint ID that is being assigned to. I'll say this will be 01, and then if you go to east is going to be 02. I'll count starting from the left to right. This is what anti-clockwise, and then I will north will be 03 and west is going to be 04. Perfect. Once you're done with these settings, it's now to do the site and the grid settings of our structure. All right, we're going to use grid system to determine the position of our columns and beams, especially only structural elements. That's the reason why we're using grid systems. And it's always best to start with creating this structure, because you already know the design from your sketches. I already know how many grid system I'm having on the horizontal line or on the vertical line. So I would go here under design. Let's find the grid system down below here and then open it. So by default, this window will pop out. If you check under general settings and make sure all these elements are checked, because you want them to be placed automatically. Elements for columns at the intersections. We are going to place columns. You have option to place object, but I don't know how you use grid to place object. Okay, but it makes sense. And I would have default beams on grid lines to be placed, and then dimensions for the extension and the totals or the total dimension. So you also have settings for each element here separately that you can access and set. But for this demonstration, I'll use default settings for these elements. And then if you move down here under grid elements, you have this grid element settings where you can graphically define how you want your grid to be like. In this case, I've used dashed tripled, and then the color, the pen for this is going to be 0.15, which is color 2. And then you could go down here under marker and then define the marker geometry you want. We have different types of shapes to choose on here. You could go with this pentagon or whatever shape you'd want. So you can also activate the background if you want. This is subject to change or subject to whatever standard you may want to create. Once you're done with this, you can hit OK to apply the changes to your grid element settings. So if you move down here under grid positions, this is where the most important part is. You are going to set the distances between your elements, your grid lines. So I have horizontal grid lines this side and then vertical grid lines this side. So in most cases, you come at this section having all in mind the distances, and then it's just upon you to key in these dimensions. For this case, I would have number of horizontal grid lines to be 4, vertical to be 6, and then the B will be distance at 6 meters, C will be at 6 meters as well, and then D will be at 1.6. At the vertical lines, I'm going to have grid 2 to be at 1.6, 3 to be at 4.3, and then 4 to be at 12 meters, and then 5 is going to be at or position at from 4 to by 4.6, which is 4,600. I'm using millimeters for this project, so don't worry to see many digits. So I'll hit OK in order for me to place this. So you could see now you have graphically a cursor like this, so that will determine the direction or the placement of your system. So I'll select the side and then go all the way like this. I could see I have I've swapped some grids here. Okay, I need to fix that, but you could click here, and by so doing you'd see now elements are being placed. Okay, so let's W and see if I do it on this direction. Or let's go back again and set that. Let's go to design and grid system. Let's say we are going to change the arrangement of this. Instead of having 8.2 here, we're going to have 8.2 at the top. Let's have 8,200 here, and then followed by 4.6, right? And then 12,000, which is 12 meters, and then 4.3. Then you have your 1.6. If you hit enter, and you can place your grids from this direction to that. I think this is the correct way, or how I intended my design to be like. So I would now start by fixing my elevation markers so that it can be nicely positioned around my system, because this system determines the structure of my project. So I'll make sure everything is in place by moving these elements, and then you want to have your elevations covering the entire length of your building by stretching these points to there. I'll select this one, also pick one of the points, stretch it, do the same using a stretch command in your pad palette like that. Okay, I would wanted to have this marker to be positioned at the top. I could just select that, but make sure, because by default ArchiCAD, when you place this kind of elements in groups like this, that will be by default grouped. As you could see, if I select them, they are all grouped. What you need to do is activate the suspend groups here, or Alt G to ungroup, so that I can select this vertical line separately. And then I could say Control M. I would use this center to mirror. Oh, am I refusing to mirror? Or you could just come here under settings and change the marker position to downside, and then remove from the top. That will change like that. Oh, it didn't change. What's the problem? I don't know why it's refusing to change. It looks that strange. The position. So what if I want to display the marker on both sides? It's not showing. What might be the problem here? Or generally I'm doing it on the section and elevation part, so I need to do it on the elevation, so on the floor plane. So I would uncheck this. I think this was correctly done. Let's go here under floor plane and then make sure we swap this to there. Okay, I hope it makes sense. guys. There we go. We've swapped the position. We could also do the same to this side, but I don't think this side. Let's just leave it the way it is. Okay, so we have an awkward thing here, guys, counting from right to left. This is not the right way of doing this. Something went wrong. Look at this, A, B, C, D. This one is perfect. The numbers are the ones that I don't know why they are like this. So that means I need to swap this. So I need to start counting from left to right. So let's fix that, gentlemen. Let's fix that. I'll select everything and then delete. Let's go back to the design and open grid system. Let's say I would collapse the general settings to have a clear view or clear window. Let's just increase this. Okay, so on the vertical members, let's say we said this will start 6 like that, and maybe we can come here under ruling for numbers, right? And then we say start at 1, go in this direction. I guess so. I guess this will give us a good reading. So let's hit OK, and then I'll start from this point and then go in this direction. Let's see. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the issue has been sorted. So we only need to swap our markers. So I would make sure the suspend group is active and then select this row of columns and of grid, and then open its settings. Under floor plan, we're going to change the marker position to this side and then uncheck it from that side and then hit OK. Perfect. I think everything is super. Ladies and gentlemen, I can again reposition my elevation markers nicely, because the point in ArchiCAD is to model well, and so that you can spend less time in doing construction documentation. That's the whole point, guys. If you have that mindset, that approach is always best approach ever in ArchiCAD. Good practice methodology. So I'll just drag this one here. Okay, let's see. We have that. All right, so if we check on 3D, you would find you have your columns placed like that. Okay, columns and beams placed already on your grids. Okay, so let's go back to the ground floor. It's not necessary to place all the columns here. Okay, once we're here, we're going to decide, because the position of these beams and columns are determined by the design that I want to create. In this case, I don't have a beam here. This beam will go all the way to, I'll stretch it all the way to here, and then this I'll stretch it all the way to there as well. And I would have to delete this column. I don't have this column here. And then I also don't have this row of beams, so just delete this row like that. All these columns I have to go, and then I would activate the trim tool, or just come here. The reason why I'm using the shortcut is continuous, but for this tool you have to trim one element, then you go back there, trim another. This will take time. So if you use Control Hold, you could just continuously trim your elements without going back to the tools many times. Okay, what happened? All right, I see now. I think no, I did a mistake. Let me just undo. Okay, we're gonna have just the beam instead of column. We're gonna just delete these ones, and then the beam is going to remain. The beam is going to remain like that. Okay, and then because we're gonna have a suspended kind of curtain walling this side, and then this side we don't have columns as well on this area, something like that. If we check on 3D, this is basically what we have. Okay, so I would come back, and now is the time to do the floors. So let's come here under design and activate the floor slab. The floor slab is going to cover the entire. I'll use the geometry method of rectangle, and then I'll use this corner to place my slab diagonally like that to this edge, and then I could select this one and pick one of this edge. I'll add a point here so that I can now offset this edge to there, something like that. Okay, so now I need to copy this to the other floors. I'll control C and change the floor to floor 1, paste that information there, click outside the marquee, do the same to the other story. By the way, we're having more than 4 stories, so what I need to do is to right click in one of the story settings, and then insert story above like that. I would use the same story height, which is 3 meters, then hit OK. That's basically that. So if we check on 3D, we will have something like this. I think for this area we're gonna have 4 stories, so I'm going to, yeah, for this area we're gonna have 4 stories. Let's come here under story 3 and then paste that information as well there. Come there on 3D. Yeah, that's basically that. All right, so obviously the roof for this section is going to be higher than this side, and I need again to copy all the columns and paste them on relevant what you call the story. So let's go to the ground, and I would come here under design tool palette and activate column tool, control A to select all the columns, and then do the same for the beam, activate the beam and then control A. So now I have the beam and columns selection. I could group them separately because I don't want to them to be grouped together with the grid lines. So I would control C, and we are going to open the upper floor, paste that information there, do the same to story 2, control V to paste, click outside, open story 3, paste, click outside to complete the paste command. So if we check on this story, I think yes, we need to paste it here. We didn't paste, I don't know why we missed it, and then click outside. So if we check on the 3D window, that's basically what we have. This is the entire structure on how we want our project to be. Okay, so from here we need now to close off this. We'd have a wall that will come all the way to there. So let's go here underground and activate that wall. This wall is going to sit right in the middle of this. I could decide to make my walls go outside the structural elements, and then let's change the geometry method to be this one for placement of this wall, and then I'll just draw a wall from there to there. There we go. So if we check on 3D, that's basically what we have. Okay, this wall needs to be multiplied across. I could copy this wall into all these floors, but that will take ages, so I can just stretch this wall all the way up like that. And then because I know here this part is going to be roofed separately and it's going to be higher than that side, so what I need to do is to trim this wall into 2 parts. So let's go back to ground, and we're going to activate trim and trim our wall on this column. So let's go here and split, select split tool, and then we can select our wall somewhere there. Let's select this and make sure we stretch it to here. Same applies to this one, to there. Check on 3D, and then this, like I said, is going to be maybe extended all the way to somewhere there, something like that. Okay. Also, this is going to be, because I'm going to have a slab at the top here, maybe we can increase its size to, I would say, open the object, the settings of this. Instead of having it 9 meters like that, we could say 0 and then C. All right, now I see why, because it was linked to the story. So let's link it to the third story, and then make sure it's 0 here, and then we can add now on top of the height we want to increase, which is going to be 600. Or maybe let's just for the sake of the covering the roof slab, we can make it 1 meter and then hit enter. Sorry, what's wrong with this? So it's not linked with the 4th story. Okay, it's supposed to be linked with the 4th story, and then we're gonna increase a height of 1 meter to cover our roof, something like this. That's what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Okay, so I think let's make the slab for the roof. I'll go back here under story 3, select the slab, Control C, and go to the rooftop, and then Control V to paste there. Click outside. Like I said, this is going to be roofed separately. I'm going to select the slab and then move the edge to there. Same applies to this area, and then I'll pick parameters of the slab and then roof this area separately, something like that, so that when you check on 3D we have something like this. This has to sit right on the top of, let's say it should be sitting right on 0, like that. Okay, so we're gonna have a wall here at the top that will address this, right? Let's pick this parameter of this wall, and then we're gonna draw it on the roof plane. Let's just draw it from here, going all the way to this area, and then make sure they are cleaned off the corners. I'll select these 2 and then use intersect here. Okay, if we check on 3D, it should be fine. And this wall, I need to restrict it to be on the height of this wall, so I'll click this point and then activate the stretch height in your pet palette and then stretch it to reference with this wall. So that's basically how it's going to be done. Okay, right, so we're left now to cover the entire space or the entire building with curtain wall. So to achieve that, let's go back to our ground floor, and then we need to activate the curtain wall tool, and I'm going just to use default curtain wall before I can default settings of the curtain wall before I can customize. I'll change the geometry method for placement to polyline like that, and then it's going to start from this point. We're gonna go all the way to this corner, bends around to this area, and then close it off here. Right click and then hit OK. Wait for it to place. There we go. And then we're going to have another placement from this corner all the way to there. Right click and then hit OK. Alright, so if we check on 3D, this is what we've placed already. We're gonna have curtain wall in 2 sections, in 2 parts, more especially on this side. So for this side is fine. We can just select this and then stretch it all the way. Let's say we stretch it all the way to there. Okay, and then wait for it to compute that changes. something like this. Okay, don't worry for now with these settings of the curtain wall. We'll make it look way much better. And then for here, I would select this. This should go all the way. It will start around 2 meter height. So what I need to do is scroll down here under the info box, set this to be 2 meters, something like that. And then the height is going to be all the way to there, right? And wait for it to compute. There we go. If we zoom orbit like this is what you get. And then we're gonna have a separate curtain wall for the ground floor. So let's come here, and I'm going to activate again the curtain wall tool. This time around, I'm going to draw from this area to place it. Oh no, sorry, it's supposed to be on this beam, but anyway, we can just place it and then right click, and we can later stretch it all the way to there. Let's select it, and then like I said, I want to pick one of these edges or the edge of the curtain wall, and then activate the offset edge so that I can stretch it all the way to there, because it was supposed to be there here. Sorry about that, guys. This nowadays I record my videos on site, so there will be that kind of background noise. Right, so this is how it's being done. As you could see, I think this floor slab needs to extend all the way to this point. Okay, so that's basically what I have. And for the roof slab, this is going to be stretched all the way to the edge of this curtain wall. Okay, so now is the time for the fun part. But before we do the fun part, let's just sort out this issue of the slab. I think the slab, we can make it go all the way to maybe 1.5, something like that. 1.5 or undo. I'm planning to reduce the height of my building because okay, let's do that. I'll take this slab, delete it, and then the height of this building is going to be, let's select this curtain wall and stretch it all the way to the height of, what is this? The height of the slab. I'm planning, like I'm saying, I'm decided to reduce the height of the building, and then yeah, to somewhere here. I think it looks much better in somewhere there. And then this, guys, I'm going to delete, select one of this and suspend groups, delete, something like that. And then I can raise my curtain wall up, maybe make it 8 meters. Okay, and that will make a lot of sense. And then I'll select this wall, also bring it down to the height of the curtain wall. Right, so for the slab, I'm going to select this, stretch, oh sorry about that, I want to select the slab. Let's pick the edge and stretch it all the way to there by offsetting the edge. And if you scroll in your info box here, let's make this to be 300 high. Okay, so that's basically that. So that means we're gonna reduce the height again to this side. So I'm going to delete this slab, reduce the height of the curtain wall by clicking one of the points, and then activate the stretch height to this height, something like this. Great. And I'm going to have also this wall to be at the height as well. It's going to be at this height, and select this, pick one of these points of the wall, let's bring it down to the level of the curtain wall. Okay, yeah, it looks great. It looks great. This is how I wanted it to be. So now I need to close it up here with the roof. So I'll go here under the 4-story, right click on the below story and then show as a trace reference, and then I'll activate the slab tool to close off this area from this point to there. And then if you check on 3D, we have a roof slab. I think this can go all the way. Let's stretch this curtain wall all the way to maybe 13 meters. Wait for it to compute. Perfect. And then I can come this side and do the same to these 2 walls. Stretch all the way. Stretch them using the stretch height and reference with the height of the curtain walls. Oh, sorry about that. This decided to go all the way, so let's bring it back to here, and we can select these 2 and then fillet to clean up this corner, something like that. I know this could create problems here for the junction, so what I need to do is to select this wall and pick one of these points. I'm going to use the stretch length and make sure I place it there and hope that line will disappear. Perfect. Right, now it's what I wanted. Fantastic. If we go back to here, and then what we need to do now, if you look at the 3D, let's go back to 3D. You find we just used a default curtain wall system for everything, and I don't know why all my slabs are underside of the beam. They are supposed to be on top, right? So this is supposed to be I would say 300. Same applies to this one, should be 300 up, yeah, because these are floor slab, right? They're supposed to be sitting right on the top of the beam. So if I cut a section there, let's just cut a section vertically. So I'll go here under the viewpoints, activate the section tool. Let's cut a section on this, and viewing which direction should our section based on. I think let's do it on this direction. So if we come here under sections, open the section, let's see what's in the store. Perfect. So I need to position my my floor slab to be at this the floor finish to be at the position of this floor slab has to be at the floor finish, right? So I would select all these slabs and then make them to be at 0 instead of 300. Okay, so that means the columns, right? The columns are the ones, the beams are the ones that are gonna drop down. So I would select all the beams by just coming here and then activate the beam tool, Control A, make sure the suspend group is active. All right, beams, and then Control A, then make sure the beam are at that means minus 300 at 2.6, 2.7. That's the height of our beams. So they will be adjusted, all of them, like that. I'm not sure because this one, what is this? It's also a beam. I don't know why it wasn't selected. Let's do the same again. Activate the beam tool, hit Control A, make sure they are at 2.7. Let's see. There are stubborn beams at the back. I don't know why. We could do it on 3D if this gives us a lot of challenge. So let's select, activate the beam, Control A to select all the beams, and then set them at 2.7. I'll say 3 meters at first, then revert back to 2.7. So that will clean up that mess we had. If you go back to our section, now we have a clean section. As you could see, we have now a clean section with everything in place. Okay, so one thing that you need to bear in mind is the the material between beams and slab has to be one material in order for them to connect or to clean up the joints. You see, we have a line here, but practically it shouldn't be a line. There shouldn't be a line there. Okay, that means we've used two different materials. If I could see, even the pen sets are different. So if I select the slab, you would see we've used concrete structural. For the beams, we've used reinforced concrete. So why not using the same material? I'll select the slab, all of the slab, and then change it to reinforced concrete structural so that the joints can be cleaned up. You see, perfect. That's how it's supposed to be done. Okay, so I will select my grids and let's move them up a bit. So I cannot move them up. That will be Control D. So I cannot move them up by just dragging them. So I need to stretch them. So I'll select here, select one by one, stretch it up. Do the same to this one. Make sure you reference it to the other one by hold shift. I'll stretch and then hold shift, stretch, reference with this. Do the same for this one again. All right, so we have almost our section complete. So we need also to fix this issue of our curtain wall. Instead of it going all the way to 3 point, let's see, the height to 3 meters is supposed to be at 2.7 because it has to be underside the slab. Okay, something like that. All right, so I've fixed the position and the structural elements to make them sound good. So what I need to do now is to focus more on the aesthetics of the building, right? So as it is now, it looks horrible, guys. It looks horrible. So let me fix this issue first by stretching this line to here. We should go all the way to there. All right, something like that. Okay, so let's start with this block. Okay, so I would go to, if you look at let's just select this and then open its settings, and if you come here under scheme settings, let's just open the schemes and then come here under the favorites for scheme. These are examples of what we can use that came with the default ArchiCAD template. So I have something that I've created that is famous or familiar with modern architecture. So I would go to window, and then palettes. Let's find favorites, and then I'm going to load favorites on the curtain wall folder. So I would make sure I would open the scheme panel under curtain wall section. So then I'll go here under settings or additional settings, hit import or export. Then we want to import the XML files. The favorites are saved as XML files. So I'll come here and import, find where it's located. It's this one. Hit OK to load. There are 3 of them. Import. Okay, that's basically what I've created for this demonstration. So the 04 is responsible for taking care of the glazing. This one is the cladding, because I'm not intending to have full glazing for this. It's going to be cladding. So if you double click on it, if you apply it, it won't apply because that. So I had to close off this and then open the settings for the curtain wall, and then under scheme settings, let's open the scheme favorites. You would find our recently loaded schemes, which is this one. I'll double click on this to load it here. Once it's been loaded, I'll hit OK to apply it to my curtain wall. This should act as a cladding. Let's wait for it to compute and load that. There we go. There we go. And then this is how it is. Or we could create our own. And to create our own, you could watch the previous video I did. I'll put the link on the description or at the top right corner here. or instead of maybe we're saying this is not what we want. So let's see how we can modify this into our custom settings. So go back in and open the settings. What I need to do here is to change maybe the thickness, sorry, the width of the columns of this. So I'll increase its width to make it 2 meters, for example. If we make this 2 meters and 2 meters, 2 meters, and then hit enter. Wait for the result to load. That's basically what we created so far. And then if we look at the corners, we have this. We don't want to see this corner frames. So I'm gonna hit on edit this time around, and then I'll select this corner and then use this menu for selecting vertically, right? And then delete in your keyboard. Let's hit on delete. That will disappear. If I orbit to this side, we have the same situation here. I'll select one of this and then make sure you use the vertical selection and then delete. Perfect. I can hit exit mode once I've made those changes. So now I have clean corners for my cladding. Okay, that's basically what I wanted. Then we have an issue here. This wall has to go all the way to the edge there. Like I said, guys, model well in order for you to spend less time doing the construction documentation. So as you could see, I'm very particular with the connections, the joints, the materials, the pen sets at an early stage of my project. So that will help me to reduce the amount of time going to be spent doing the other documentation process. So once you're done with this, I would move on to I think this has to be restricted on this, so I need to stretch it all the way to the curtain line. That can be done on the first floor. That could be done here on the first floor here. Yes, I'll select this and then stretch it all the way to there. Let's see on 3D. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the cladding part. And because this is a solid cladding, you would also want light to transfer light into those areas because they are at the top. So how do you do that? I would edit again this curtain wall system. Let's go back here under settings, and then I would say instead of having 2 rows, okay, instead of having 2 rows like that, what I need to do is to add another row at the top, maybe 4 rows of the same. Okay, and then I want to increase the size of this by dragging that so that I can see and deal with these issues very well. So I would say I would want this to be, I would want that to be one window, like really one window. I would say come here under the main panel, change this to be a distinct panel, right? I'll come maybe at the top somewhere here. I just want to stagger them. Maybe this one should be a distinct panel as well. So they're supposed to be main panels instead of distinct panels. I'll select these two, make them main panels, and then I'll select this line, make it also main panel, right? If I hit OK, I've applied windows to that. You could see now we have this, but you could see it went all the way even at the top there. Okay, that's what we don't want. We could fix it by coming back and then open its settings. Instead of having this at the top, I would change this to be a distinct panel. Same applies to this, should be a distinct panel. And then I would add another row at the top, another 2 rows for example. Okay, and then maybe that's when I can play around with those windows. Start from here to, and this one, make them a distinct panel. Then if you hit OK, let's see what would happen. Yes, I think I need to reduce this height. The lower windows are not working for now. Let's go back and I would get rid of this line, make it main panel, maybe increase the height to this line, set this to be a distinct panel. Oh sorry, main panel, this to be distinct. What is wrong with this? Something like that. Let's see. Okay, but you see what I'm trying to achieve here, because this will be a window, but look at how it is here. It's not sitting in the right position. It's not sitting in the right position. I need to go back and sort out my arrangement of windows. So let's add another row at the top, maybe 2 rows, right? And then we would have this be, okay, this 2 will be the main panel. Yes, maybe this way it will solve our problems. Okay, perfect. You could see now we have windows at the same level where our spaces are located. I think this looks fantastic. You could see maybe we can increase here again. Let's go back and then see what we can do. I think it's fine. I believe it's fine. Right, let's move on to the next curtain wall. I'll start with this one. Let's select that and then go back to the settings, and under scheme favorites, let's load this one for the glazing. Okay, so you could see now we have that, and let's zoom in. I think at the corners here we need to fix this. So select this and then edit, select one of the frames, make sure you use the vertical selection to select all of them and then delete. Maybe you could check another corner from this side. I think this side is perfect. I can hit exit the edit mode. Perfect. And then I would apply the same here. Let's apply that to this. Open its settings, go back to the scheme favorites and then use this 04, hit OK, and wait for it to update. Let's see. That's fantastic. This is great. It's great. It's great. So I can change the override to simplified so that I can preview this in a one color. Yeah, that's basically it. Perfect. It looks great. So on the elevations, let's open all the elevations and see. We'll start with the 01. And obviously we will need to fix and stretch this manually, or maybe let's select all these grids, right? Go back to the settings. We can increase the height. This is 10 meters. Okay, the staggering, make it 4 meters. Hit enter. It's not. I want to move this to the up. Let's go back, and instead of having negative 4 meters, let's put it at 0. Doesn't change. I think that doesn't do us justice. Let's just keep it at negative 4 meters, and then we could hit OK. That means we are left with doing manual. So I'll select this, make sure the suspend group is active, and select that. All right, select this, stretch it all the way, stretch it all the way to there. Do the same to this. Unfortunately, we had to go through this process, ladies and gentlemen. All right, and then I could reduce the length of, or the width of the elevation by clicking on this line together with the side. Okay, so you could see now our drawings looks clean. Even if we change this to say no overrides, we can play around with that. It looks fantastic. That's basically our building. Okay, so that means we're going to do the same for all the elevations that are remaining. All right, so if I to come here, I can fix the slab so that it can go all the way to there. Okay, if you want to apply cladding as well to the backside of your wall, this wall, we could go back again to the ground floor, and then remember the previous video I created and shared some scheme settings for wall cladding. So let's load that to our curtain. So I'll activate the curtain wall tool, open its settings. On the settings, let's go back to the scheme favorites and come here under additional options. Oh, sorry, we cannot import from this window, gentlemen. The only way to import is to close it off, go to window, and then load in favorites, and then we can go here under additional settings and then import. Let's import, and I think it's this one, it's 3. So if you hit OK, there are 4 of them that I made and shared from the previous video. All this information that I'm using, guys, check the link on the description if you want to download this. Then hit import. So we have a folder here. So if we check, these are the schemes that we created. So I'm going to use maybe something like this. Depends. I'll double click on it. No, sorry about that. You cannot reuse them under the favorites. So you have to go here and then open the curtain wall settings. Let's load that. Open the scheme settings. I'm gonna go with this pattern, then hit OK. So I'm going to draw from starting from there all the way to this corner, and then maybe to up until to this. Let's flip it so that it can be outside. Yes, up to this column. Right click, hit OK. All right, and then because they are going to be staggered here, I'll take this one as well to stretch it all the way to this column. All right, let's check on 3D. This is the kind of cladding that I was trying to do. So we need to select this and pick one of the points to stretch the height all the way to there. and wait for it to compute. So this will be a solid cladding. There are no windows or doors. You could also, like we did for the first curtain wall, you could also add windows to this. Okay, it's supposed to end on the height of the wall. So I'll go back here and then select this. Let's just make it end somewhere here to this column. Right, check on 3D. We just want to clad that area. Perfect. So you could do the same to the corners because the frames that are being added there. We don't want to see a frame in the corner. We're going to select this, use this vertical selection, delete, and hit delete in your keyboard, then exit. Perfect. We have a corner like that. It looks very interesting. We took less than an hour to create this. You could imagine, if you check your sections are already ready to be used for documentation. As you could see, change your overrides and try play around with that. Perfect. So like I said, it took us less than an hour to create this entire structure, of which that's the whole point of using ArchiCAD. You want to spend much of your time doing your model work and less of much time doing the documentation part. So what you think about this video, guys? Let me know in the comment section what you think, and if any step that I've missed, let me know so that I can maybe revisit with another video next time. So I thank you guys if you managed to make it to the end of this video. Thank you very much. And if you want to get all the resources that have been used for this video, check the link in the description. Also check our Beam store where we share our objects, templates, presets, and ebooks courses, really to bridge the gap of having difficulties in using ArchiCAD. So it's not just the tutorial we are teaching, we're also creating some supportive material or resources in order for you to create great results using ArchiCAD software. I thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.